Hey everyone, this is Tony coming back at you with a new video, and this video is going to be about my panic attack, my first ever panic attack. So I was asked a question the other week from a lady from North Carolina, and she asked me, when was the first time I realized that I am actually having a panic attack? So real quick, at first when I was a lot younger, I realized that I did have some anxiety issues. I never understood how big they were until I was able to understand what anxiety and panic disorders were. So for a lot of my years at first, I thought there was a lot of medical problems wrong with me physically. And I was in America when I had my first ever panic attack, and I was in Oklahoma City. Now I remember it being very busy. I believe it was a holiday weekend, and I was at the mall, and there was lots of people. I remember I was getting frustrated with the situation or with my environment. There was just so many people, and it was crowded, and I was hot, and I just wanted, honestly, to get the day over. I wanted to start traveling back home from Oklahoma City and just be done with the day. I went there during the day, and as I started my travel back, it was dark outside. So now I have another variable there. I have to now drive in the dark. So I'm wound up. I had to drive in the dark on the way home. Traffic was crazy, and I remember I felt lightheaded, and the person I was driving with, I had to tell her, hey, can you take over, and I'm just gonna sit on the passenger side and try to relax, because I'm just not feeling well. So I started the symptoms of the sweating. I kept gulping air and becoming rather gassy up in my chest, and I kept burping. And I remember the lady thinking, you know, what's going on with this guy? He's acting like he's extremely thirsty, and he's gulping air, and he's sweating. Well, those symptoms started to progress, and I ended up pretty much taking some very short breaths, and I started to fall into the cycle of panic attacks, the cycle, and it's a very vicious cycle. And as you can imagine, like a time clock, every symptom just kept getting worse every round that hand made. So I started off with the sweating. It then proceeded to shortness of breath. It then proceeded to a rapid heartbeat, then proceeded to, and every time it kept going around, and the same symptoms would just get worse. So suddenly my heart rate went from 80 to 120. Then when it made its way around that cycle, it's now up to about 140, 150. Honestly, it felt like my heart was pounding out of my chest. And quite honestly, I felt like I was about to have a heart attack. I mean, no one knows necessarily what a heart attack might feel like. I mean, there are some people that do, but with me, I've never experienced a heart attack before. So in my mind, a rapid heartbeat, feeling like it's about to pound out of my chest, the sweating, the shaking, I started believing that I was about to have a heart attack. And I remember telling the lady, the driver, I'm like, head to the hospital. I said, I think I'm about to have a heart attack, and you know, my hands on my heart, I can't breathe, I'm shallow breathing, so I wasn't really honestly getting that deep breath in, and I started honestly to hyperventilate. And I remember my body becoming rigid, like a wooden board, and my body just became so tense. And I remember grabbing the seat and just like holding on for dear life. And I got to the hospital, and the craziest thing happened. It all went away. So at that point, after having a couple of tests ran, I realized at that point that I have a panic disorder. I have anxiety, or generalized anxiety, and then I suffer from panic disorders. And that panic disorder, or that anxiety at first, is the first stage, and then my second stage was the panic attacks, and then all of a sudden it then went into hyperventilation. And I thought honestly I was dying, but when I got to that hospital, it's like it all released. And I realized at that point it's because I felt safe. I felt safe being at that hospital. And quite honestly, that was one of the worst episodes I've ever had in my life. I would never wish that upon anyone. But that was the first time I've ever actually had a full-blown anxiety, panic attack, plus hyperventilation. And that's when I realized that it was time to do something about it. It was time to start seeking some self-help techniques, and hopefully get on the road of recovery. So I hope that answers your question. That was, I may have had other episodes before, but when was the first time I really identified it was a full-blown panic attack, and that was the time. So thank you. Hey guys, first of all, I'd like to say congratulations in taking the first steps into overcoming your anxiety and your panic disorders. Second of all, I'd like to say thank you for watching the video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe. Down below in the description, you also will see links to our social sites and also the website. So take the time to visit those, and let's start kicking anxiety now.